Hello folks, and welcome to Meet the Squad. I've been planning to do this for a while, and I thought, you know what, today might be a good time to do it because the window has just closed for the January transfer window. So this is the squad that we're going to have for the remaining of the season and pretty much going into the next season. What we will do is touch on a couple of transfers that went out over the transfer window first, and then we'll kick into the squad. So we're going to our transfers now. I introduced Ryan Kane in the last video, so we won't worry about touching on him. We don't have any more people who've come in. What we did have, one person to left was Riley Omega. He went to Waitakere City. They offered a contract to him and he took it. This really annoyed me because Riley, you may or may not remember, he came in the last season as a first choice practically. Did a really great job for us in the, I'll click on him so you can see some of his stats. Did a great job for us last season for North Shore United. I mean, yeah, it's only showing, not last season. Last season, 6.6, he came in, did a job. He got replaced by McCain a little bit this year, but he was always going to be in the first team. That was my intention, was to play him at times during the games to give my central defenders a rest. Against our last game against Central, then you would have been with us. The captain got injured. So sweet, no worries. Good old Mega will come and step in and do the job for about about 3 weeks. He to cover the concussion that Mitchell picked up. Guess what? The offer came in probably before the Central game, and the next day he agreed to go because he was deemed surplus to requirements. As is the case in most non-league sort of games, teams, you don't really have much control. They're on a contract, but it's a part-time contract. There's nothing really keeping them here at the club. So he buggered off. So we were forced to use an under-20 player who did well, considering. But that's the only issue we have. But anyway, we'll go through the squad today. So in front of us here is the squad, the first team squad, I will call it. I've sorted it here by position I've picked, based on the top team really, and then the subs plus obviously those who are kind of on the fringe or are just used as backup. Some sort of thing like that anyway. So we'll just kick into it. So some of these you would have seen before, but we'll just go through. This is a whole different year now. So this happened to Dylan Bennett. He's our goalkeeper, the first choice goalkeeper. He's only a young player, 19 years of age. He's an exciting young prospect, but not far from first level, according to the coach. He's got work to do. He did really well in our first division league. He's being found out a little bit more in the Premier, which you'd expect, but I think he'll grow from it. Unfortunately, I am on the hunt for a bit more of an experienced goalkeeper to probably be more of an understudy. But also someone that Bennett can actually be tutored by and learn from. I haven't looked at the training for a while. He's on 3-month individual training to sort out some bits and bobs. It's a bit discouraging to see these, but I'll ignore those for now. These arrows going down. So yeah, that's Dylan Bennett. He's been with us for a number of years, and I have signed him on for a bit longer. 19 years old. I think he'll do the job going forward. Now, Paul Dunn is as we would have covered in the transfers, he's on loan to us, and I believe he is on loan from Auckland City. He is a fullback on the right now. As a defender, right, you'll see he's actually the level star 2. We had played Edge in the last couple of years. I think Edge can still do the job, but done just a little bit. He is a fullback, yeah, and more of a natural fullback. So there's some of his stats there. He, I mean, his form's so far. We look at the Premier Division, 10 starts, average rating of 6.88. I think he does his job. He's got a few issues that we are training on, working on. It's good to see those arrows there. Focusing on tackling and marking, of course, needs to be improved, as well as his heading. For his training, so we're focusing him on positioning at the moment. I'll usually set up an individual training for 3 months and then change it. So we've got him set up as a positioning, which is good to see going up. If I can get that to 10, I'll be happy to, and then we'll look at changing him back to something else. We go to the captain now, Adam Mitchell. He has settled back now. Last time I may have given you an update, he was a bit cranky because he had wanted to move and there was issues about that were game related, not my relations. But anyway, he settled back down. Still, I think one of the top players in the team. He's a 5-star rated central defender, and way ahead about the rest. He plays primarily as a defensive centre-back, and his stats are pretty good. 7.26 from 8 appearances. So we are still early days in the league. We don't see it play too many games anyway. But yeah, and here's our captain. I mean, his leadership's 12, but I think at 23 years old he'll grow into that. I'm hoping that he'll, push on, and he generally does hold the team together. He scores a few goals here and there from the headers, so I like him. In training, I think we've got him as agility for some reason. That would have been suggested most lately by the coaches. Okay, we'll just leave that for now, and I'll look at that in I think it's the end of this month. It will be the 3-month period, or the beginning of this month, during this month anyway. Okay, and then we'll go to Callum Lee's he's one of our new transfers, of course, which we've touched on. And again, now he's basically the number 2 central defender, as you can see here by the comparisons. He's a long way behind Mitchell, and they rate him as a backup player who could still improve. Obviously, we don't really have much in terms of depth, so he is our number 2. But again, I think I'm pretty happy with how he's going. 7.3 average rating from 10 appearances. He's scored 2 goals as well from the head, so there's definitely positives there. He's got decent pace for him. His heading's okay, but he's got good marking and good tackling and a good positioning, and some of his mental stats there, like decision making, are good. And if we come to his training, we're training him in heading, so yeah, no influence there, but if we can get that heading up a little bit more, maybe even to 10, that'd be good. And again, he's only 21, so he's one for the future as well. And we go to Cameron Grieve, another one we bought in. We did touch him in the last transfer, so I'm not going to go in too much depth for you with him. We just say so far in the season, 10 appearances, 6.89, still pretty good. I think for a fullback, I'm not expecting over 7s. Maybe I should be, but I think as long as they're 6.8s or higher, I think they do their job. Especially because a lot of the teams we're facing don't necessarily go down the flank; they'll cut inside. And they'll put pressure on the central defenders. So as long as my fullbacks are kind of maintaining that holding pattern, I think that helps as well. And they do their job there. Again, he's 28, so we've probably only got a season or 2 in him, probably 2 seasons before we'll look at moving him on. But he is by far the best left back we have and have scouted. And in terms of training, we have him training on his passing, and yeah, it's a 5. I'd like to just push that up a little bit more, and then we'll probably focus on some other situations there. If we look in now, currently we have just come back from injury, Kangrid. So another young kid, 19 years old. He's been playing for the under-20s as well, but he's in the Premiership. He's 7.64 out of 6 games, 5 assists, 3 player of the matches. He's just come back from injury, like I mentioned, so you can forgive that little bit of dip, but hopefully he'll kick on back into it and ease back into the games. He is training on passing as a winger. His passing is 9, so if I can get that into double figures, that'd be good. And he's an important player. It could still improve. At 19 years old, you'd like to see some improvement still. Oliver Cisse, which we brought back again and touched on the last transfer window. He's been playing more games lately. 5 games, 4 appearances from the bench, 2 assists, an average of 6.8. I still think he's got room to grow and room to move. I'll still rate him as a young prospect, as my coaches do. And you'll see there on the comparison chart, or the suitability, he's basically a 1-star. But, with Vaughan and Sellars, he's pretty much the second guy now. He plays up in the middle with Sellars, and Vaughan is pretty much the substitute. First touch of 13 is really good, and his work rate and leadership are good. He's also got some good physical stats, including his pace. And we are training him as just a central midfielder with a passing focus, so we can get that passing up. That'd be quite good too. And then Edward Sellars. This guy is 29 years old. I envision this to be his last season. Maybe next season he will play as more of a backup role. He is recommended to be a backup player who is in his prime years. However, he still gets the job done. I mean, he's played 10 appearances for a 7.09, 1 goal, 1 assist. So at 29 years old, I think we can be pleased with the efforts that he makes. I do play him quite a lot as the Carolaro position. Seems to work. But he is fairly flexible, but generally he's always in the central of midfield there. And at the moment, I believe we've got him training on composure. Yeah, it's 5. We'll probably get his composure up. I don't know. I'll probably look at changing that regardless in the off season, just maybe to something to maintain some of these physicals. I might push him onto strength or something, but we'll have a look into that as well. And then Ernesto Lopez. So he's been with us for a wee while now, obviously last season, but he is by far the best left attacking midfielder we have. He's also capable of playing up front, on the right, and also just as a winger, which was where we primarily play him. His natural role is obviously the attacking midfield role, but I think he does the job for us. And if you look at the stats down here, where are we? 9 appearances, 7.39, 3 assists, 2 player of the match awards. So he does play a lot of internationals at the moment, so he does play miss a few games for that, but that in a way gives understudies, mainly Stefano, a chance in the first team as well. And we're currently training him as winger again, passing, and this passing is 9, so if I can get that up a bit, good, and that'll at least match his crossing ability. And we want to then go to our forwards. So Tim Rule, last few games I've been playing him as a target man. The reason I did this is because he's 6'2", so he's a tall lad. He's got good balance, but his jumping reach is 12 and his heading is 11, so they're above average, right? So I'm hoping we can take advantage of that with the poacher playing alongside. And it seems to be working. He's pretty good off the ball and a decent work rate, as well as good acceleration and decent pace about him. His dribbling is good. His finishing is really good. So dribbling and finishing are fantastic. Good free taking and a decent header. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can just utilise him a bit more as a target man. It may negate his dribbling ability, but I haven't seen too much evidence of that. And he can fairly comfortably play that target man, rather than an advanced forward. So that's what we're using him for at the moment. We are training him in target man and with composure set. I will look at probably changing the composure afterwards. Maybe I'm not too sure really where we'll go. Maybe the passing, or might just push on some of his physicals. But he's only 19 years old, so we've got a long bit of time with him. Okay, so now we go into Nicky Sudgeon. So Nick Sudgeon, Suggy, you'll remember him, Mr. Fantastic from the NRL Premier League. If we're just looking at his season in the first division, 22 appearances for 26 goals, 5 assists, 7 player of the match awards, 7.73 average. And this season so far, 9 appearances, 5 goals, 2 assists for 7.01. Not as prolific as couple of seasons ago, but he is 2 years older kind of thing, and it's a Premier Division, so it's a step up. But I'm still playing him with my first team. I still show faith in his ability, even though they reckon he's a surplus to requirements and they list him as 4th behind the other players. I still have faith in him. His finishing doesn't reflect that, a 7, but he gets into positions, and I think his natural fitness and pace are helping doing that. And he's able to slot the ball home. He is showing a little bit of, in times, some things. I think it might even mention it in the Central game where normally he would have been expected to put things away, and he's just not getting it right. I think that is just the fact that, you know, it's a higher division. He may be struggling for that, but I'm still going to show faith in him as my number one poacher, and with Ricardo coming through as the backup. So yeah, but I will give him. You know, he's only played 9 games, so I'll give him another. You know, sorry, he's only 9 games. I'll give him a couple of more games, maybe 12 games, and see how he's going there. And then I may look at dropping him to the bench and starting Ricardo. I just don't want to top and change too much. I guess it's faith in what I know he could do previously, and it's just a matter of can he be unlocked to do that again. And I think a lot of that is with the new relationship with the partner up front, which is Tim Rule. And they are starting to form that partnership. You can see it in the tactics screen with those little lines. If we come into our substitutions now, generally, okay, so these substitutions, Grupla, Vaughan, Casey, Stefano, and Ricardo, they will definitely the starters here. With Ryan Kane generally will be taking Dan Grupla's position. He's just recovering from an injury at the moment, which doesn't seem to. Oh no, it was only a 2-day one, so we'll just go there. And let's put Kane in. You've seen Kane anyway, so I'm not going to touch on him too much. Hasn't been over that long, so he's only made 3 appearances so far, but already made an impact with 1 goal and 7.4 average rating. So someone I'm definitely looking forward in the future. And at 27 years old, he's still, you know, I think he's about to hit his prime, and he's an important player with store ability to improve. And when we come to our training, we've got him no additional focus because he wasn't set there when we came in. We hadn't set it, so I'll be waiting until the next round. That's what I like to do. Every 3 months, look at individual training and change them up. I feel 3 months is a good time. Unless there's a really obvious need to change it earlier, I'll leave it as it is. So that's Ryan McCain anyway. Very impressive debut, very impressive go. And if you look at where he can play, he covers a lot of ground. Jack Vaughan, okay, so this guy's probably his last season with us, 29 years old. They say surplus requirements, and I actually do believe that. Same age as Edil Sillars, but again, he's showing his age. He's struggling here. And, I mean, he's played 5 appearances, started 5 matches, played 4 as a substitute, 6.64 average rating. So that is down on where the expectation should be. But he's coming on as a bench at the moment, and he'll do the job there from there when and as needed. However, this most likely will be the season that he hangs up his boots with North Shore and probably moves on in the summer. Okay, Jordan Casey. Now, Jordan coming to me the other day regarding first team football. And to be honest, I kind of had forgotten about him since we got our last, you know, the other left back on since Grieve showed up. And this guy was the understudy to this position and played well for us when we needed it in the last year. So I've agreed to give him some games, and I think I know he can do it. The staff are of agreement with that as well. And it's you know sometimes you just forget they're in there, and unless it's an injury, you won't bring him back in. But so I'm going to give him a few games. A good chance to rest Grieve as well. So Jordan Casey will be starting a few of the games, and I'll just give him a chance, because if you look at his stats for us, he hasn't played a first game all season, so it kind of doesn't help. Can he still do the job? Well, we'll see. I believe he can still do enough to be effective. And training-wise, we have him in marking as a defensive fullback. So yeah, marking is a 5. And if we go to now, we'll go to Harlem Stefano. Fairly familiar with him. You know, his natural position is, of course, an attacking midfielder. For the last few years, we've been training him, and he's retrained as just a winger, midfield winger, and he's adapted well to that. He's only 19 years old, so he's a young prospect. That's what they're rating him, and they have a potential of being a 3-star. He's currently playing a 1.5, so there's still a good whack to go. It's just a matter of game time for him. and with Lopez doing so well, it's going to be hard. The only chances really he will get was if Lopez is injured, knackered, or on international duty. The trouble is also sometimes when Lopez is on international duty, Stefano will also get caught up for Samoa and not have the opportunities necessarily. I may look at pulling him back from one of those international games if it's a friendly only, just so he can get first team games if Lopez is away on internationals. But he's learning, he's being tutored. I think he's being tutored by Marcel Nodal. He's still got some good pace, good natural fitness, great acceleration, agility, and balance. His determination's going down, so I have to look at that. But he's got a fair bit of flair, good teamwork, and a good work rate. We just need to work on some of other things there, and we are working on his crossing ability. It is a 5. I think we need to work on that to try and get that up there as well. I would like to maybe look at him as an inside forward, but I just don't think right now it would work. I'll rather focus on the other skill sets for the position that we are generally going to play for him. And if then we go to David Ocado, so this is our second poacher. Again, he's rated higher than Suggy, but as previously explained, this guy's going to have to work for it. He comes on at the bench generally half time. He's a substitute at the moment. And in the Premier League, I mean, he's only had 1 appearance, 7 substitutes for an average of 7.06 and 3 goals. So I think justifiably he probably deserves more starts. There's no negatives. I haven't heard any rumblings from him yet. So nothing sticks out. 1 negative. Let's have a look at this. See, that is unhappy with the high amount of extra training. So yeah, that's all. So that's pretty good. And as a poacher, his finishing's not very good in his first touch or low. I mean, I guess that's higher than Suggy. But he's still got some good off the ball. He's got some good positioning there off the ball and a decent amount of pace for him. So he probably will, like I said before when I was talking about Suggy, I'll probably give Suggy to at least 12 starts before I start to look at maybe swapping it around and giving Ocado a good decent whack at the kickoffs. And we'll see where we go from there. What we have him training on at the moment as an advanced forward is his strength. It's a 3. I'd like to just probably see that go up to a 5 if possible. And then I may look at pushing that onto his finishing as well next. So that's pretty much the top 11 plus subs. The rest there or thereabouts. We kick into the young Mark Wilkinson, a goalkeeper. Plays all under the 20s, but he is available for the first team as number 2. He's only 19 years old, so he's got potential there. He has done fairly well under 20s Cup and under 20s Group 1, but yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. They reckon he's surplus requirements. I don't really have a choice in terms of letting him go. I want to keep him at 19. I want to see if he can develop something. We don't have the best in terms of training facilities and everything, so it's probably not going to help. But we need an understudy goalkeeper, and I think he'll do all right. We do have him training at the moment as a sweeper keeper and kicking focus. And, well, it's got a green arrow, so that's a good start. As you can see, he's outside the main squad. I don't have to have a goalkeeper on the bench, so I don't usually have one. David Edge on loan to the end of this coming season with us from Whiteax. Someone will still rate, someone I think will still do the job. And can still improve. He's going to be mainly the understudy here on the right, but his natural positioning is the left. If we look at the right side, he's third choice, but let's be honest, Kane's really my second choice for midfield. And Edge proved that he can do it in the past with us. He's only made one appearance on the bench with the league this year with a 6.7. It's pretty hard when you come in off the bench sometimes to really make a start, but he hasn't moaned yet. He's like I said, he's on loan and he's still only 19 years old, and I still believe he can kick on and do a good job for us. I like some of his it's good to see his pace is increasing, but I do like a lot of his mentals there. Good leadership, good flair, determination, decision making, very brave and fairly aggressive, and and his tackling's pretty good too. So I would like to get him into the subs and give him some more games if possible, but it's not always. I've got him positioning at the moment, which is going up, which is good to see. If I can get that to 10, it'd be quite nice. And then look at pushing his marking on next. We'll see. But someone I'm still happy for, and when his contract comes up for renewal, or his loan contract, I'll probably look at extending it for another season if I can. So folks, that is pretty much the squad. Just touch on the finances here. We did get a little summary that came through a few days ago, but overall balance is 53,833. Profit last month, it doesn't show it. We did make a profit last month, and most of our profit was based income was based on a new sponsorship that we had signed as well. We're currently spending $1,500 per week with a budget of $3,200 in wages, and we've got about $4,000 just over transfer budget left, but the window has now closed. The board aren't being the best accommodating with us for any things I'm wanting to change in that or expand on, which is a pity. But it is what it is, and I guess we can't complain. Okay, guys, I think that's all for this one. We will kick into the next game, which is planned and promised to be Milford. Waitakere. That's in a few games' time. But I just wanted to drop this in there, give you an introduction to the squad, touch on the one player that we did lose, unfortunately. And going forward, what I'll do, we can't make any more signings really, unless they're free, or but I'll update you as we go through. Let me know if there's anything that you've missed that you'd like to see. Maybe we just click on the dynamics while I got you here. You see a good team cohesion, very good atmosphere, one unhappy player, and excellent managerial support. Unhappy is Jordan Casey, which I've discussed when we've talked to him there, so that's fine. Yeah, if we go to the hierarchy and click on men, I've got 18 players who support you and 2 have no real opinion. Well, that's fine. They're just the newbies, really. A young kid and a fairly newbie, so. And yeah, we don't have any highly influential players. The rest are influential, apart from obviously the team captain. I'd like to see some guys kick up, and I'm probably thinking maybe, Grieve, Lopez, and Kane will probably hopefully kick into that highly influential section soon enough. Obviously, Sellers and Vaughan were there once upon a time, and Suggy. But that's it, guys. I think actually social groups, and there's your social groups, and that is Takapuna Beach. Okay, folks. Anything? No. We'll leave it at that, guys, and we will see you for Waitakere. See you later.